Well, we got quite a bit of progress done this weekend. One of the things that I did is I got the pivot point with this where it's working real nice, real smooth. I ended up making this little knob using a radius dresser, and my daughter wasn't here to do the video, so I have to make more of these knobs anyhow, but it was actually kind of fun and kind of neat. And so we're going to show that, but I'll just show you what we have on there as far as the makeup of it. And also I ordered a couple smaller thrust bearings from Amazon. And I'm going to make these out of A2 tool steel anyhow. But basically, there's a few things we'll show you in the future here. This is one of the parts that was made on that radius dresser. And I have a tool. Let me grab that a second. I have this tool, and I got a 3/8/16 tap, and it's just a chamfer in there. It's a piece of 3/4 A2 drill rod, and everything was centered up real good. So what I can do is I can screw that in there real good, put this up in the quill, and I can face this off real nice and do whatever work I need on that. Previously I had a step on there for this bigger thrust bearing that located on, but this time I can't have that step on there because I have a smaller thrust bearing and it's got a smaller diameter. Well, one of the things I wanted with this thrust bearing, I wanted to keep it so it wouldn't be floating around, so that it would be centered very good. So when I took this knob right there on that radius turn fixture, I can turn the bottom, I can make this little pocket right in there, so I got that where it fits real nice. And I got this so it seats in about 5 thousandths more, and the diameter over here is about 10 thousandths bigger than the diameter of this. Actually about 5, I guess. It'll fit right in there. And so what happens is now I can have that bushing in there, and now I got me a nice pivot point right there that spins with that thrust bearing, a real smooth action. And by going with that 3/8/16 tap, it gives me a 5/16 hole, which gives me plenty of movement for this as it goes back and forth. Plenty of movement for the adjustment there. So anyways, things are coming along pretty good. But using the radius tool, I was able to swing a radius up over here. And another neat thing, if you looked at some of our older videos, you'll see that I made a knurling tool that I can use on the mill. And I actually modified the radius dresser, and we'll show that in the upcoming videos. I can actually now pull the lathe tool off that does the radiuses, put a couple pieces on there, and then I can mount the knurling tool right there on the mill. So I can do everything on this right there on the mill, and I can do it real fast. And I was even kicking around the idea, if you've seen the turret tooling that I had set up, I can even add on that where I can actually center drill, chamfer, and tap that hole all in one setup on there. And I may even go with that way because it's kind of having fun. And so I'm still playing with that. But anyways, this is working real nice. I got some weaker springs in there. The other ones were pretty stiff. Let's get that. Let's see. Anyhow, it's got some real nice smooth travel on it right now. But anyways, I say I had a real good weekend. This is our non-adjustable base right here. This is the first one I made, and it works really good. We'll be using the same type of nose piece on there. I had to move the screw location down a little bit more. But I have a piece that will ride in here. And what's nice, I had a piece of CPM 3V, real high quality steel. Characteristics of that, it will have about between 2 and 3 times the wear resistance of D2, and it will have about the strength of 01. And so I just had a round slug of this, and so I took the bandsaw and bandsawed this out, and this piece will be big enough now that I can actually make the centerpiece. So now I don't have hardly any scrap. When I make the ones we're going to sell, I'll be making them out of DC53, another excellent piece of material. And I'll do the same thing. I'll be making some fixtures that go in the saw that will make it real nice and easy to cut these, because I have a scissor saw and its action is like so. So I'd have to set up a stop so I wouldn't cut past this point. And then you can see with the saw blade, as it comes down to the scissor action, it would, if I'd cut all the way down to there, it would be cutting into there. So then I'd have to flip it around and do the same thing there. And then I'd have to set it up with another plate and use it like a bandsaw to cut in. So it was a lot of fooling around, but I was very limited on steel, so this is what I've done. But then I was thinking, as I was doing it, I was thinking that, well, what if I make a little fixture that sits in my saw, that sets up, so that when the blade comes down, it'll hold the part right up at the proper angle, so when it comes down, I got a nice cut all the way. Do both sides, and then make it so that I can do the same thing here. And then that way, if I set my stops up on the saw, I can let this cut unattended and be about doing other things. And so it's always nice if you can get one of your tools running automatically and that you have to do very little babysitting. So that's kind of nice when, I guess I do that quite often. When I'm doing something that's kind of tedious, takes a while, and I'm sitting by that saw, got a lot of time to think, I'm thinking, how can I do this easier? What would make it faster? And again, you start thinking about some fixturing you can build, and then you always want to obviously make the fixturing so it's real cheap and you don't have a lot of time in there. But if we plan on making a lot of these, and so the cost of making a few little pieces of fixture for it will easily be offset with the time that it will save us on the project. So anyways, what we have now on the bottom of this, this is about 400 thousandths thick all the way around over here with this relief in there, and it's got a nice radius down in the bottom, gives it some strength. What I got to do, I have to do that on this part yet, and I scribed it out, and so what we're going to do is we're going to move over to the mill, and we're going to go ahead and rough that in and hopefully get her finished out. And after that, I'll make this part, get the holes in there, get the radiuses on it. I'm going to make the nose part. We'll make that out of CPM 3V as well. And that way, when I send it all out, everything will be not DC53, CPM 3V. When we send it out, we only have to pay the one heat treat charge. If you send out, different materials like a CPM 3V, an A2, a DC53, you're going to be charged with 3 minimum orders. If it's all one steel, I never send anything out yet where I've surpassed a minimum order, and so I can keep the heat treat costs down. So anyways, off to the mill. And this is one of the end mills that I have that we use for boring bars, and I know for about maybe a 1/4 inch down it's pretty dull, but I'm just roughing this out, and I'm going to do some chopping action to rough a lot of this out over here. So I prefer using end mill that's not brand new, because the chopping is a little bit hard, but it works actually real good with that. So I already got this set up where I edge found this so that I can use my digital to make everything central that I need. And so anyways, I'm going to rough this out. I got to get a pocket. This is a center cutting end mill. And I already got my stop set up so that I'm going to proper depth. So one of the things with these mills over here, if your quill's real loose, and then it'll make some noise on you in there. So instead of plunging straight down, which I could do, but it's going to squeal on me, I like to get in, and then I just like to start winding and get me a little pocket. Just going back and forth. And a lot less noise, a lot less heat, a lot less walking around. And then I just go down nice and easy until I get to the depth that I want. Okay, there we got a little pocket now. And what I can do is I can go into my chopping action, and I'll just make sure my slop is right. So basically, all you're doing is just like it, what we call it, you're chopping this part out. Very fast way to remove material. And if you take your end mills and you take them to the grinder and put a little bit of a nose radius, like a bullnose end mill in there, you can just keep using these things over and over and over because you're cutting with the tips rather than any of the other geometry. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get a lot of this roughed out, and then I'll start taking measurements here in a little bit. Nice with this chopping, you can use old beat up end mills that really aren't good for much else. Like I say, just turn them into a bullnose by putting a radius on there because that's what you're cutting with, and so that way you can get some of the old, especially the carbide end mills that are worn out and stuff. You can get some extra life on them. I'm going to stay away from the line because I'm going to run a bullnose cutter in there in the end. So I just want to get a lot of this stock out of the way right now. You want to snug the gibs on your table up a little bit, because as you break through like I did over here, if your gibs are real loose, you can get the slop to grab and move on you, and then it can get a little bit gnarly. The other thing that you can do is you see that you're breaking through, you come down, you can wind over and then back up your slop. Wind over, back up your slop. You can do that as well. One of the things that you'll run across when you're chopping is that your end mill will, a lot of time, if your end mill is really dull, it will move up on you or down. And this case is moving up on me a little bit. And but again, we're just roughing this out, getting the majority of the stock, and it's not that much. I will adjust that all on my final cutting. And so now we got that pocket roughed out on there. And I was going to go through with a ball nose end mill on there, but I think I'm going to take, if I remember right, I got a 1/2 inch end mill that already got a bull nose about an 1/8 inch radius on there. I'm going to look and see if I have that, because that will be easier. That way I can get a nice, on the depth, I won't have a lot of lines in there. It'll flow a lot nicer. So I'm going to look and see if I have one of those. This end mill right here, I know that shank must be off a little bit, because I had trouble with that one floating around on me as well on an earlier project. I got me a 1/2 inch end mill. I found that. I remembered that's how I done the last one. And I just took this to the bench grinder and hand shaped some radiuses on it. And this one's fairly good yet on the sides. So again, radius there, all that is just for appearance and strength, and will be plenty good. And this I'll be able to finish the bottom up and the sides. Making sure that I got all the high points off. So now we got most of this roughed out, and we're at 400 thousandths on the edges and over here. So now I have to turn this up and set it up so that I got my 30 degree, and I eyeballed it real close at that point in that part, and then I'll just blend it in. It's nice and smooth on the bottom. This is just a relief area, so just roughing it out like that. We'll get it set up at 30 degrees, and then we'll be right back. Well, here's the setup I'm going to use. I'm going to use the edge that's already machined against the back of the vise to establish the angle I need. And obviously, if I try to clamp on here, it's just going to twist it. There's no way to clamp. So I'll take one of my templates right here, and this is a 30 degree angle here, 60 degree, 90, and I got some 1032 tap toes in there, so I can just put the screw in there and snug it down, put a couple parallels up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this screw so it's hitting the back side to keep this from moving in and out. And then what will happen is when I tighten this down, I got the screw holding it on that way, and I'm against that side, and because I got 30 degree angle here, I got all my push in this area. And so what I have to do, I have to be very careful. I'm holding pretty tight, but I just got to rough that very carefully. Once I get that, I'll just flip it around and do the other side. So in this case now I got to reestablish my bottom surface here. The scale is about 20 thousandths, almost on the money. I'll slide it in and make sure I get clearance, then I slide it out. I don't want to slide it in and come up. Carbide's very brittle, because if I come up and hit too hard, I'll crack my carbide. So I pull it out, and then I wind my table up. I slide it in, pull it out, and what I do is I just use it kind of as a feeler gauge. And it looks like I'm just touching right there. And so I can set my 0 at -20, so I know I need to come up to 0 to get that in. We're just hitting on the, we're just hitting. I'm going to zero my calibers out on the thickness of this jaw. That way I can come across here and then I can get a very accurate measurement. Now I was just eyeballing that and it says I'm within about 2/1000ths of where I want to be. So now what I got to do is I got to just be real careful, eyeball it in here, eyeball it over there, just to get a nice look on it. And again, it's just relief. Doesn't have to be perfect. Come to this other side and probably get in the way of the camera so I can see what I got. There, just hit there. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. I went just a little too deep on there, but again, it looks like a real nice blend. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to flip this around so I can do this side, and then we'll let Kathy do some close-up pictures so you can see the finished product. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but what I did is I increased the dimensions on this, on the height and on the thickness here to add more weight so that this has more weight. And because of the adjustment system I'm going to have in here with a series of tap toes on there, it's going to have a different mounting thing for this Noga base. Plus you'll be able to mount even more solid. When we get to this system, I can tell you right now the weak point is going to be right here. This arm is good and solid right up to here. It'll be the weak point will be right in here, but with this style of Noga base, that's still one of the best out there. But you can hand make any kind of indicator attachment that you want that's rock solid. And because I have a series of 1/4-20 holes in this piece over here, you'll be able to mount that on there. And so anyhow, I made this so that it would have a little more weight to it. And so what we're going to do, well, before I do that, I'll just show you the bottom, and Kathy's going to get some still pictures of this. But again, it worked out real nice, and that's just clearance on there. So we should have a 400/1000ths lip that runs around there that will be ground. We'll go from there. But this one I'm making out of CPM 3V because I had a spare piece of material over here. This one will belong, when it's done, to solid rock. What we'll do, once I get this done, there'll probably be some changes that we'll make. We'll see. This one will be for solid rock. And then we're going to do a test run of 4 more. And 2 of those, one's going to go to Stan at Bar Z Industrial for putting on the summer bash and all the hard work that he's done on that. And then one of them will be as a raffle price for the Bar Z summer bash. And so if you would like to get your hands on one of these and get in on that raffle, and if you can make it to the summer bash, possibility that you can have one of these. Now once I have this made, for solid rock, the one we're making for solid rock, I really probably will never be using this because I'll be using that one. Because if I lock this down, I can actually, it will be as if it's a solid unit. So I got the adjustability, I got the lockdown, I got the best of both worlds. Plus I'll have a lot of options of different things I can mount on top. So this one, me and Kathy were talking. We thought we will probably donate this one to the Bar Z Summer Bash as well. It's all done. It's been used in many of the videos. And so we'll probably donate that as a raffle item as well. So we'll have an adjustable one as a raffle prize, and we'll have the original one as a raffle prize. And we'll get one of the attachment arms with the Noga. We'll supply for the raffle prices. We'll even provide the Noga arm on there as well. And so this one will be kind of special because of the fact that whoever gets this, you can point out to your friends, you can show them all the different videos. I mean, this has appeared in many of our videos. And so there'll be a little bit of history that you'll be able to talk to your friends about with that. So anyways, let us know what you think. If you'd like to see this one in the raffle as well as an adjustable one, we'll make it happen. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.